Welcome back, class, to another live stream of Animation Collab, where I experiment with new techniques in my animation laboratory in collaboration with other content creators. Today, I'm going to experiment with you with animating or animation triggered by markers rather than keyframes using expressions, and I think I already found an expression that would work for this. So we're going to set up the template composition that I created in the last few streams, and we're going to try and trigger sections of that just with markers. And if you've missed any of the previous live streams of this collaboration series with Andy, then you can check those out on my YouTube channels. All the replays of past live streams are on my YouTube channel. And if you don't know who Andy is, he is a cybersecurity expert who creates cybersecurity videos for his YouTube channel. So you can go check him out if that interests you. You'll find a link in the description at the end of this live stream. And yeah, let's jump in. Sorry if you were waiting prior to the start of this stream. I had some technical difficulties, and also we've had a little bit of a break from the stream. So I'm happy to be back, and let's have a look. Let me, oh, my After Effects doesn't want to, oh, I think my After Effects crashed. Is that possible? It's quite likely. If you follow me on social media, you might have seen some of my reels where I quite openly complain about After Effects and how often it misbehaves. Come on, After Effects. It keeps like going white and then going back to normal, but then not wanting to do anything. So I'm not sure. I should probably try and restart this. Okay, yeah, I'll just show you. It's doing this lovely thing. So, yeah, I think I just need to restart it. And the technical difficulties continue. I'll lift the camera just a tad. I think it's a little low. All right. I hope you can hear me well, and you can, of course, leave a message in the chat. Let's check that the chat is working correctly. It's sending the messages to all the places, so that's great. And we have no dropped frames this time around, so everything should work smoothly. But After Effects does just not want to close. How about you just close, my friend, so I can restart you? Oh god, why? I've said it once and I'll say it again. If there was an alternative to After Effects, I'd happily take it. Unfortunately, apps like Cavalry do not cover the whole range of what I require from my motion graphics software. So although there are some alternatives out there now, they do not quite match the caliber of After Effects, which is why most of us motion designers have to put up with its randomness and non-cooperation. Now I need to actually get it to be smaller. Yeah, I had all of this set up before we started the stream, and now I'm having to like mess about here because it just won't do what I want it to do. This is excellent. Sorry about that, but such is the stream. You never know how it's gonna pan out and if it's gonna work as expected. So yeah, just a little bit patience. Thank you for your patience. All right, here we go. So I've prepared a little bit here already. I think I'm going to turn some of these, maybe I can turn off the modes so we have a little bit more real estate here in the timeline. So I found this beautiful tutorial by Creative Dojo, here's the name, Creative Dojo, you can check them out, and they have this excellent tutorial about triggering an animation with markers, and for that they are using the thislayer.marker.key and then saying, you know, the number of the keys. You just start counting from the first keyframe onwards, and then they're using the linear function. And the linear function works something like this. It also exists as an easy function or ease function, where it takes like an easy ease if you're using it for position or opacity. Instead of using a linear, it can ease into the final keyframe. And the first value is typically time, because you don't want to calculate this expression just at one point in time. You want this expression to check all of the variables, all of the values that are in this linear statement throughout the timeline. So you want this expression to be like, okay, look for all of these values somewhere in the timeline. So we're starting with time. Then we're starting with the start marker. So we're saying this is the start marker. I will have multiple start markers because I have multiple scenes in this composition that I want to trigger. And so I have the first start marker and the first end marker, then a second start marker, second end marker, and so on. And I'm denominating them just by this index number. I'm actually going to zoom in so you can see this a little bit better. Let me make this slightly smaller. Sorry for the weird view just then. Just make this a little smaller so you can see a little bit more. Let's zoom in like this. There we go. So, just a tad more maybe. Sorry, again, I had all of this set up already, but then I decided to change my view. So here's the expression. So each marker is just an index number starting with the first marker. So they just keep counting from 1 to however many. And currently I have 4 markers, so it goes 1, 2, 3, 4, and 2 linear animations. I gave the linear animations different variable names because in the Creative Dojo tutorial, they are using math.min to call the 2 different markers, but this animation is slightly different. I'll switch to myself. And this animation is slightly different to what we are doing because this is on an opacity and I am using this expression on a time remapping, so that instead of triggering the actual property, I mean, I am triggering the property of the time remapping, but it's not quite the same as saying I want the opacity to go from 0 to 100 and then back from 100 down to 0. That's what Creative Dojo is doing in their tutorial. I am doing a similar thing, but not exactly the same thing. I want to say, when I'm using this expression, play scene, this scene, and I've denominated each scene to be from this marker to that marker. So from this marker here, again, whoops, wrong screen. So I'm going from this marker, this first one here, to this second marker, the second one here. And I've given these values so the scenes have specific lengths. And I know that, so these numbers are seconds. So I want to, from start marker to end marker, I want it to go from this value to that value. And in my case, those 2 values are seconds. Because we're starting at 1 hour, or minutes actually, sorry, they're minutes or seconds? I'm confused. There should be minutes technically because... Yeah, there should be minutes because we are starting at 1 hour as per my start time code. If you don't know what that is and you'd like to find out more, it's I basically always start at 59 minutes and have at least 1 minute of timeline, if not more, so that I don't lose sight of layers that are pushed backwards. So I have kind of a 0 starting point, but I'm not actually at ultimate 0, I'm at 1 hour. So I need to take that into account in my values. So my 0 is actually 60 minutes. And then the animation continues, and I just check inside of my comp where that animation finishes, is this comp. And it just so happens that this animation finishes at 3 minutes past the hour plus 2 seconds. So I think it's this one, or this one is the longest one. So this one animates until here. Yeah, so it's actually 3 minutes instead of 3 minutes and 2 seconds. So I actually need to make that change. So it's exactly 3 minutes. So I can say it goes from 60 seconds to 63 seconds, which is 3 minutes long. You can do this expression in different ways. You can also denominate duration here and all that kind of stuff. But since these values of the minutes when the scene starts and when the scene ends, or that particular animation starts and that particular animation ends, they are never going to change. I'm going to animate them to the voiceover one time, and then whenever I'm using this, whenever I'm using, sorry, I thought there was somebody knocking on my door. Whenever I'm using this template composition and I'm triggering these particular animation sequences within that, they're not going to change. They're always going to be in that, in those minutes, I guess. They're always going to have the same duration. Because I can also move these keyframes, sorry, that's the duration marker. I can move these keyframes and, oh, now I'm moving that entire thing, and change the duration, because I've already told this, this expression, calculate from this marker to that marker. So these values here, they're not going to change. The markers can change, however, and that can make the animation shorter or faster or slower if I want them to, but I don't want them to actually, which is why I've extended this duration marker so that whenever I move this to somewhere else, I know that this end marker is supposed to be here. But I'm actually not anticipating moving them, and I'll show you why. And I'll also be going through and adding the other scenes that belong in this template composition. And there is something else, and there is another thing that I should point out, that I'm actually currently not able to play all the markers here. As you can see, the timeline is actually at 4 seconds, and that's because that's my second linear animation, the anim 02, and that starts at 4 seconds. You can see that over here. It starts at 4 seconds, and that means this entire comp now starts at 4 seconds. Oh, sorry, when I said you can see that, you cannot see that. So here I'm actually just gonna zoom out so you can see the whole screen again and me. So basically, yeah, it starts at 4 seconds because that's the last expression, or that's the last line of code in this expression, which means that's the only one that's being executed. So, I'm sure there is other ways so that you can execute multiple ones of these. I haven't yet found a tutorial that explains that, and I'm not familiar with a tutorial that or a way that I can trigger multiple of these linear expressions, but that doesn't matter, because what I can do is I can just duplicate this and say, okay, at this point I want this first one to be triggered, and I can just mute, so to speak, this expression, that then means it will only play the first expression, or I can do it another way. I can create a, well, I can just say anim 01 is being played, or anim 02 is being played, and then it will just choose that linear expression for the variable that is dedicated to. But of course, it's still calculating from the markers, so nothing's happening here, not until we reach that actual marker. But that's enough for me, because I can just say, okay, for this first layer, I want you to use the first animation, which is this, and it finishes here, and then we effectively have a freeze frame on that until I want it to play the second animation, and again I can denominate that here which one is being played if I had more than these two, which I will do. And then I can say, okay, so for this entire amount of time, I just want this to be in here. Then nothing happens. And then the next scene starts playing, because now I have that second animation. I can even cut this out, like as soon as these overlap, because you don't see the layer below. I can just cut that out. And then the second scene is being played on this new layer. And I think this is a really effective way of using a template composition that has multiple stages of animation. Because now I can just call whichever one I want inside of this composition without creating multiple compositions. The reason I don't want to create multiple compositions is because all of those compositions would then share a lot of the same characteristics. And if I want to make a change to any of them, like I want to change how many rows this table has, how this the screen animates in, I'd have to then make those changes to each one of the compositions that are separate from each other but look the same. So in order to avoid that, I decided, okay, let's make a template comp. I add all of the separate scenes or all of the separate animation stages in that one template comp, and then I'll call those scenes somehow. And this is the somehow that I'm going to do it. And yeah, so let's continue with adding the other animations. So at 4 seconds, I have this animation happening. It goes on and off. And then this is the audio, and I think I forget when this is supposed to happen, so actually let's bring up the storyboard, which is, let's get the storyboard with the script that Andy has sent me. Oh, actually, well, we can have this one open too, but let's open the storyboard that I sent Andy with the illustrations. So that would be this one, I think. And let me just, oh, it doesn't want to. Okay, that's fine. And let's have a look at the scenes. And when he goes, attack stands for adversarial techniques, adversarial tactics. So, let's see. Oh, I'm going to have to put my headphones on and let you listen in.
Their group stands for.
Okay, so I think it starts here. And these are guide layers. I've ticked this. I can right click on any layer and make it a guide layer. That way it doesn't get rendered. So I don't end up having this audio twice when I already have it in my main comp. So this is just to work with it inside of my template comp, but not actually. Adversarial. So this takes quite a long time, but the actual animation of this coming on isn't that long, so it doesn't really matter that the audio is overlapping. Because really it's about the animation, and any standstill moment can happen the way you saw it. As soon as the animation is finished, it just stands still. So, okay. Then we need to create the next animation. I'm going to close that because it's slightly getting in the way. I'm not entirely sure where we are. Here, okay. Let's bring this to the front. Okay. So, oops. No, stop playing. Now, so this is the next bit of animation. So this bit, I actually want this to animate on again. I see. So I think I actually need an animation out for this. So there is another way of doing this, and I've ignored a little bit the way Creative Dojo did it. The way they use the keyframes is as final stage of the animation. So there is the keyframe, and then there is also duration. So you can go keyframe minus duration is when the animation starts, and at the keyframe it then finishes. I could try and do it like this to have an in and an out animation, and that way I can also use the math min. Hi there, welcome to the stream. So we can try that. We can try and amend this to include that. So duration 1 equals, and then this has to be a length. So the length is 3, essentially. 3 seconds. Let's see. So then I'm going to have to so how are they doing it again? So they have an in marker and an out marker. And each one of those has its own animation. Okay. Let's see. So, so this would then have to have a math min linear blah blah blah. Then comma. And then let me see. So it should be something like this. No, I don't know how many parentheses I need. I think I need a third one here. So in that case, it would be minus duration 01, and then This is a little complicated. And then plus duration. So however long the duration of this is. And then they flipped the amounts as well. So then from 63 back to 60, and it's end plus duration 1. Oh my god. Okay, let's see if that works. And I just say play animation 1. Yikes. Oh, right, because now it's starting 3 seconds before that time. Oh dear god. Okay. Plus minus 3 seconds. Let's make this longer, because then it starts here. And we see the animation in... Oh, wait. But now... Ah, no. This needs to be start 1. And this needs to be end 1. Hopefully. Okay. So it starts 3 seconds before the start marker. Then it doesn't do anything, and then it should end at the end marker. Okay. Yeah, that works. Kind of works. Because then I have an in and an out animation here. But I actually do want them to be separate, right? I mean... Okay, what I'll do is... I don't want them to be, like, the same animation, actually. So... I'll call the animation 1 again. So I actually do want this to just animate in, but I want the option to have this animate out as well. So I'll just create that. And that means I'll just copy this. And I'll just have animation 1, whoops, animation 1 in. Wait, what is that? 1 in and animation 1 out. And 1 out means it's basically the other way around. So end or 1, start or 1, and goes from 63 to 60. So now this is our in animation. And if I want to play the out animation, I just call the variable and it just animates out. Woohoo! Oh, that's not good. Okay. Yeah, I don't like this weird tangle there. I wonder if that's already happening with the in animation. It's not happening with the in animation. Why is it happening with the out animation? That's super weird. Surely it should animate the same way in as it's animating out. That's so weird. Why is it doing that? Is it because it's doing it linear? What if I make it ease? Ease. Yeah, that's playing back differently. I mean, that's weird because the keyframes are already inside of the inside of the comp, so I don't know why I would need to change the easing of this, but alright then. And also I probably should change where this ends because it is 3 seconds, not 3 seconds and 2. So I'm gonna render this just to see how well it can cope with the playback. Yeah, and then I can even make it shorter. Cool. Alright, so now I have an animation 1 in, animation 1 out. Then this is the animation 2, which we don't currently have. And yeah, cool. So I'm gonna remove that just now, just so I can keep on adding animations to this. So one of them is this. Then the next one would be... what would the next one be? Let's go to the storyboard. So one is this. The next one is this, which I think I've already created. So let's say this happens at 8 seconds. I hope you saw that because yeah, it's a little cut off here. Kind of what I want, not exactly. There we go. Now you can see everything that I can see. So yeah, so this is the next one. I think I have that already. So let's see. Because I think, let's go to 8 seconds. I always want to start the next scene at the next round marker, so to speak. So, so there is this. So this is animation 3. You know what? I'm just gonna put markers here as well. So this is 2. And this is 3. And then what happens? It just kind of goes in and goes out again. And I think I already have a timing for this. So if there's a timing issue, I can change that later, I think. And add the in and out animation for each of the little sessions. So broadly aligned to the type of effects of that, broadly aligned to the type of effect that the techniques, blah blah blah. So let's find that audio snippet.
They're grouped into columns. The tactics broadly aligned to the type of effect that the techniques aim to achieve.
So it's, yeah, essentially, oops, didn't mean to do that. But it starts here and ends here. So yeah, basically like that. And then we are at 14.8. That's a bit annoying. Maybe I'll just go down to, no, that's quite a lot of frames. Okay, I'll just go up to 5, well 15 I guess, for the next scene. So the next scene would be then here, 4, and the audio starts here. And the next thing that is supposed to happen is these. Yep, so the keyframes are already in the right spot, so yay. Isn't it supposed to start with, well, I guess it doesn't matter. And yep, so it's just like different ones being highlighted until the word makes up an entire attack.
No single item here makes up an entire hack.
That's it. So it ends around here. I think we can go just a little further back. Alright, and there should be 5. And the next thing that should be happening is the same column, or like one of the columns, lighting up. So it's essentially this first column. I forgot how I did this. How did I do this? Okay. So I guess it's kind of like that, only that I duplicate. But I pushed it forward. Why did I do that? That's so strange. So I've got this. I've got this. Why did I forget why I slid this forward. I don't know if that was by accident. I'll just move this here. So they're aligned. And I'm just gonna add a marker here just so I know that it's supposed to be cut at that point. And what I'm going to do for this 5th one is going to be this first row again. And I'm just gonna cut it at this point, add a marker, and then add these 2. Well, I guess it's this thing. And then it's also this thing. And the final number is 10. So it's like... Oh, alright, something happened. And I don't see this color. Oh, it's... Wait. Do I have this column twice? Oh, I do, don't I? That is strange. Oh, I already duplicated it to use it, I think. So, okay. There we go. So at this point... the only thing I didn't take into consideration is that I wanted this to animate away again, but in the opposite direction. I don't have that animation. I I guess I can just maybe just do that. Maybe. Let's see what that looks like.
Rather, an attacker will use a combination of... Rather, an attacker will use a combination of these techniques in order...
So maybe I just want this to be faster in this instance.
Rather, an attacker will use a combination of... Rather,
Okay.
an attack...
Let's see. Oh, I'm getting a little thirsty. Oh, it's not playing. Hello.
Rather, an attacker will use a combination of... Rather, an attacker will use a combination...
Okay, I think I want this to be happening. Oh, at this point, so a little sooner.
Rather, an attacker will use a combination of... Rather,
And as soon as that's gone, then we can go in with the arrow, which is now this guy. And I think at the same time, or slightly after that, maybe 2 frames after that, we're going to this one. And I just duplicated that, right? Yeah. And I'll cut that off, give it a marker, then again give it these keyframes as well as the item number keyframes, which is I'll just copy these, change the last one to 9. This should be 9. I think, just so I don't lose my mind with counting keyframes, I'm just gonna pair the last keyframe of the number keyframes with the first keyframe of the circle animation. And so it's like this. And then I think this can happen slightly earlier. And at this point, we can have this arrow. Oh, it's going the wrong direction. And I'm going to continue with that, but first, before we do that, I'd like to add all of these keyframes in here. So, I'm going to update markers from source here by right-clicking on this, and that way I can have these keyframe instances, which, again, I'm going to add to the main comp markers or the scene markers, and there's the 5, and And I don't know if I want to update them here, actually. Maybe for the time being. Maybe for the time being. So go to markers, update from source. Oh no, that removes all the existent markers. So let's not do that. But I can go to the separate markers, then jump out, and then it will be at that marker. So this is then start 03. And then I need to add that marker to the layer, not to the timeline. So start 03. Can delete this one. Delete this marker. And then what I didn't do is check where this animation ends. And it ends here. So 1406. So let's go back out. And 03. And let's add that in here. First, I need to add the start and end markers. Start 3, end 3, and we have 5 and 6. And that means I also need animation 3. And we have 3 and 3, and they are starting at 4 seconds, no, 8 seconds, so 68 going to 74 and something. 74 and summon. So 6 is already wrong. Maybe 1? No, a little bit more than that. 2. A little bit more than that. 0.5. Yeah. So what I want to do is I want this red number here match the actual timeline. And because I'm bad at math, I just do like a trying how many decimals it needs to get to that exact time, to that exact second and frame. So now if I call anim3, it will show me this animation, which looks something like that. I don't know if I'd like the fade in necessarily, and I can change that. And again, this is where the template comp really comes into effect, because I can make changes to this later on. Even once this composition is sitting in the scenes where I want it to appear, I can still make changes and it will just adapt across all of the scenes. So that's an advantage of using just one comp for multiple scenes if they're using the same assets. And yeah, I've never really worked with, sorry for the drink pouring ASMR. I've never used markers to trigger animation like this, but I think it's perfect for what I need, because the timing's already here. So we've got that, and then we have 5. So we need to trigger 5 as well. Wait, we don't have 4 yet. Oh, we don't have 4 yet. Okay, we're doing 4 first. So now I'm going to copy, paste, rename everything, and of course we need a 4th one here. And I think at this stage of relatively complex expressions, and this is going to become kind of a long block of script. At this stage, a lot of people who are becoming a little bit more advanced in the scripting and expressions writing, yeah, I think it's confused because I haven't added the actual keyframes yet. At this stage, people would start actually using scripts to in combination with After Effects. So not writing the expression inside of After Effects anymore, but using a script file that After Effects is calling, and then you can make a lot more. It's a lot cleaner because you can do a lot of visual editing to the text, so it's a little bit cleaner to look at, a little bit easier to edit. And yeah, so that's the next stage for somebody who's a After Effects programmer, or however you want to call that, I don't know, or is using code in After Effects. And I'm kind of starting to reach that point that the scripting, I'm starting to really understand the code and how to use the code to manipulate animation. Now I'm slowly arriving at the stage where I probably want to upgrade my system, my workflow. So yeah, if you stick around, you might see that process and even learn something for yourself. I'm gonna just make a little bit of a change to my setup again, because I just can't keep my fingers off of my camera when I'm streaming. Okay, we need to add the keyframes. So number 4 is here. So this is start 04, and then end 04 is... I could have just used duration keyframes for this, so that... I could have honestly also just used duration, like, period, you know? Instead of having 2 markers here, I could just say, okay, the duration is this, so just go this long. But there are so many ways to use this expression, the linear expression, and as you can see, I already adapted it to how Creative Dojo used it. There's just so many different ways of using it. There are unlimited possibilities. So yeah, once you learn how the linear expression works, you can really manipulate it to whatever you need it to be, which is really great. Okay, so it's at 15, so that's 75, and we're finishing at 21, so that's 81 point. It's almost a second, so maybe 9. Is that the correct number? No, it is not. Oh well. So this is anim 4. So in order to check if I got the right value here, I want to compare this red number with my timeline number, and that's too far. Maybe it's 8. Yes, excellent. So yeah, as you can see, and yeah, what is 4? Ah yeah, 4 is just like random different ones just being highlighted. Then we get to this column, to this whole So let me think about what I want to do. Yeah, essentially I need to build up this entire map from this to eventually this. So that's what we're gonna do now. And we can start with adding, oh no, I'm not gonna write that out. I'm just gonna copy paste this in here. And it's 5, 5. And honestly, I could have probably given this better names than start 1, start 2, start 3, to kind of be more like, okay, which scene is this? Actually, I can probably do that with this animation 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. But it's okay. For now, let's just go with this. If I get confused sometime down the line, I can just change the naming and the variables. So 82, and yeah, it needs start 05 at 82 seconds, and then it ends. Well, we don't know when it's going to end because it's going to be quite a long one, but we're essentially ending it at this text. As an attacker moves from system to system. Okay, so that's the part we want to find.
Rather, an attacker will use a combination of these techniques in order to achieve their objective. The order of the columns roughly matches the order in which an attacker would need to apply each technique in an end-to-end attack, although in reality there's a fair bit of jumping around and repetition as an attacker moves from system to system.
Okay, so it ends here. And actually I just realized a crucial part of why I'm using the keyframes, the start and end keyframes, to denominate where I want the animation to start and where I want the animation to finish, instead of using a fixed duration, because if I decide to cut pauses out, and Andy's using quite long pauses in its audio, which isn't a bad thing. It's always better to go longer with your pauses between sentences than shorter. At times the pause might be too long for the flow of the video. I might have to cut it out, and in that case I'd also need to shorten the duration of that particular scene. So it's better to have, in my case, to have a start marker and an end marker so that I can slide them, and then it will play the denominated values, the scene, the seconds of the scene within those two keyframes, then say, okay, at animation 1 keyframe, play this for 1 second, and then, you know, you can't make changes of making it shorter or longer. Well, I guess I could have more keyframes and just say, okay, at in point 1, animate the in animation of this scene, then at out point 1, animate the out animation of the scene. But I would end up having the same amount of keyframes, I feel like. Anyway, I think this is a good approach to this. And now I just need to actually tell it where we are. So 82, and it finishes at, which we know from the audio. I need to actually go in here. It finishes here, which is there, end 05. Alright, so now it's still broken. First, I need to call animation 5, and I need it to be at 101.85, I think. Yes, got it exactly. But something's wrong. It doesn't like something. Linear class global. Ah, yes, I haven't created the variables, the start 5 and end 5 yet. And it needs to be 9 and 10. Excellent. And now, between this keyframe and that keyframe, this animation happens, which isn't finished yet, but yes, here we are. That's that beautiful expression. that I'm now using for this animation. And yes, I can't call the entire animation. There's probably a way I could probably find out a way to do that. But I think for the purpose of this animation, I've already optimized it to a really good point where if I start fiddling around just to optimize this expression even further, I think the investment of time is not going to have enough of a return, because that investment would be maybe a good option if I want to reuse this expression in the future and kind of find an even better way of doing this expression. But for this animation particularly, seeing as we still have so many scenes to animate, I think I'd prefer moving on with the animation and just using this expression as is. But if you are interested in having access to these expressions, being able to use them and using them in your own animation maybe, or just being able to kind of take it apart, play with it, really understand how they work, you can become a patron of mine. I have a Patreon, and on the Patreon, my patrons have access to all kinds of expressions, project files, After Effects project files, and all kinds of other perks that I make available to the classroom, which I call the Patreon. It's the Patreon, and you would potentially be a patron of my Patreon. And this is the Patreon. You can head over there. The link is in the description, and hopefully it works. YouTube sometimes has issues with links in the description, but there are various levels with various one-off perks, and the perks that I do share in the classroom, they are available to all patrons. You would be helping me out as, as a small creator. I don't have a lot of financial support. I'm doing this from the kindness of my heart, and because I love education. I love teaching people new things that I've learned myself. I find that really exciting. And if you also like that, you can think about supporting me, but giving this video a thumbs up and sharing it with your friends is also a massive support if you can't monetarily support me. Or if the Patreon turns you off because it's a monthly membership subscription, you can also just buy me a coffee on ko-fi.com or buy me a tea on buymeacoffee.com. So there are also those one-off options if you would like to do that, although in those cases there are no perks. That's just for the Patreon. So I'd absolutely love that. If you'd like to hear more from me and get more design and creative inspiration, I also have a mailing list. You can find the link for that in the description soon as well. And there's a bunch of perks for that as well. If you want to know more from me and about me and hear from me on a regular basis, you can join that as well if you like. Other than that, I will see you on the next animation collab next Tuesday, and this Friday we're doing Shut Up and Draw, and I'll be continuing the mindfulness sticker pack that I have been working on for a while, but on the live stream only since the last stream. And if you're interested in finding more about that, you can head over to my YouTube channel and watch the last Shut Up and Draw, where we kind of go over what that is, why I'm doing that, and what it looks like. So I hope you enjoyed today's stream. If you did, you know what to do. I won't tell you again. And yeah, hope to see you next time. Bye!